Hello again, it's Matthew from Matthew North Music here. Quick video today about this amplifier. This is a Fender Frontman 2x12 combo. It's solid state, and as you can see, it's switched on and it's working, and that's because I've just done a couple of repairs to it. So what I thought I would do on this video is show you a couple of repairs that I had to do to this amp to make it work. The main one being that it has a fault, which was with nothing plugged in, it made this horrible humming sound. And it turns out this is quite a common fault on these amplifiers. And with that in mind, I thought I would do a quick video on how I rectified that fault. For anybody else who's a little bit handy with a soldering iron, they can do the same mod that I've done to this amp, and you should be all in business. Obviously, electricity's involved, not for anyone that's not experienced. Having said that, most of the electricity on this amp is very low voltage. It's not like a valve amp, but always make sure the amp is unplugged whenever you're doing any work on it. Anyway, I'm going to show you how I fix this amp and then give you a little sound demo at the end. And here lies the problem. When you switch the amp on, it makes a horrible hum. Now, if you plug a jack plug into any of the sockets, like say the power amp input on the effects loop, the hum goes away and we've just got our normal signal. And that's because the amp has a problem with what's called the muting circuit, which is a circuit inside that the idea is when nothing's plugged in, it makes the amp dead quiet. But as we can see, if I unplug that, then it's anything but quiet. I'll just plug a guitar into one of the inputs. And there's our guitar. As I've got the amp apart, I've just gone a bit hands-free. Now you might notice this slightly Heath Robinson way in which this pot has been wired in. I just did this quickly because the original volume pot was broken. It's just a 50k pot. However, one of the tracks had broken underneath when the old pot got damaged, and if I lift it up, you should be able to see that here the wire I had to actually just extend out to go to that point there because the actual trace had been broken. However, that does work. I'll probably just tidy this up a little bit in a minute before I put the thing back together. However, what we need to do is to actually fix this muting problem. And in my hand here, you can just see how I'm going to fix it. This is just an ordinary 220k resistor, and we need to hook this up between 2 points on the amp, and that should correct our fault. Well, this is our circuit board then. It's fairly standard for one of these old Fender amps. Well, I say old, it was only made in 2015, but you know, by today's standards many think that's old. But we're just going to zoom into this section of the board here, and this transistor here is Q7 and this is D18, and what we need to do is to connect the collector of this transistor to the cathode of this diode with our resistor. So you could almost hook it around one of the legs and hook it to here, but I think it's going to be neater if we actually do the solder job underneath the board. So I'm just going to look up this transistor and see what it is so we know which leg to connect to. Again, wobbly old camera here, but in essence there's our collector there and there's our cathode there. So we need to basically pop our resistor across those 2 points. Looking back at the amp again, so it's the far pin of the transistor here on this side going to here. And as we're looking at the board, it's basically from here to here. Right, there's our little transistor in place with its rubber sleeving around it, just so that it doesn't short out or anything. And I've got the mains plugged into the back, so it's a little bit precarious, but let's switch it on and see what happens. There we go. No muting circuit now, and no loud hum. Now, I'm still a big fan of these. These are like plastic socket sets, and you can pop your nut on your pot or your jack socket or whichever thing you're going to do, and you can tighten them up. But because these are made of plastic, they're never going to scratch the front of the amplifier chassis or anything else you're going to use. So I think these are great. Now the last thing to look at quickly are the bolts and washers that hold the chassis into the cabinet. Now these are the original washer and bolt, and it's a cross-headed bolt with a washer. Now, where I live in Plymouth, we've got a nuts and bolt shop. Seriously, a nuts and bolt shop, and it's brilliant. But I couldn't quite get a match, but I could get the right sized bolt, but it has a slot head rather than a cross head, and some washers, but of course they're the wrong colour. So this is what I did. As you can see, I've painted the washers with some Hammerite, and I painted the screw heads with Hammerite as well. I just used spray Hammerite and I gave it a couple of coats, and that will suffice to hold the amp in correct position inside the cabinet, and it will look pretty much like it always should have done. And here's the amp all back together again, screws holding the cabinet together, all the knobs back on, everything as it should be. Missing a nut there, but can't have everything. Let's switch him on. No loud horrible hum anymore. Plug a guitar in. Now all the sound is just coming off the top mic here of my camera, so it's not sort of studio quality like I normally do, but you know, you get the idea. So this is the clean channel. And I just turn the treble down a bit, a little bit more bass. And of course we've got the reverb control as well. And then we move on to the second channel. Channel select changes channel. Turn the reverb down a bit. This is our sort of drive channel. And you've got various EQ and stuff. I could whack the treble up a bit. And then we've got this thing here called more drive. So if you push that button, and that's your overdrive control. And we've got this mid contour thing, which is like an EQ shaping thing. And then back to clean again. And that's it. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.